Hey everyone, welcome to Willow's Whimsy. This is my little tiny mini series on job search stuff, and I'm just trying to share just little tidbits in each video. This will be the last one, so there's 3 of them total. I'll link them down below, each of them in the description for you. This one is about interviewing. And I really didn't do too much of that this time because it took me 5.5 months to get a permanent job. Interviews are not fun. I don't care who you are. Unless you are just a person who gives no fucks and, doesn't get nervous and you're just going to do you, be you, and you don't care. Okay. Just a couple things. Get on the internet and research the company. First of all, research that job description. If your experience isn't an exact match, they picked you anyway. So they like you. You've done a bit of a good thing there with your resume because they liked you enough to call you in for an interview. So you start looking at that job description and find out what you're lacking and be prepared somehow to convince them that you can learn that, no problem. Or if you've had comparable experience, like say they want QuickBooks, but you've never used QuickBooks, but you used something similar. There's your comparison. Well, no, I don't have specific QuickBooks, but we use this program, so I don't think, I think those skills are transferable, and I don't think I'll have a problem catching on very quickly. So that's one thing. Make sure you're prepared that way. There are very common questions in interviews. Look them up. Look them up online. And don't say the top 5 most asked questions in an interview. Ask for 20 questions. You could go to AI or chat. No, not chat. Whatever. Go to AI and say, give me a list of 20 typical job interview questions and the answers to them. Or you can simply type in AI in the Google box or search box, AI, and then say, ask a question. Like, tell me about a time you had a customer who was irate and angry at you and would not take no for an answer, even though the answer was no. Seriously, put in AI and then type that question out. It will give you an answer, and you can study that. But even if you just get a list of the top 20 questions, because they're going to say, most people are going to ask things like, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? What is a time you had a major project to do and you couldn't meet the deadline? You got to think outside the box because they're going to come at you and you have to be boom, boom, boom and ready to answer these questions. When you answer these questions, try to tie them in to your resume. So if you used job A and they're asking a question, and you're giving them an answer, try to say, well, when I worked at job A, blah, 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 so that it corresponds with your resume also. The biggest piece I found, and a lot of people don't take this seriously, but you should have questions, because at the end of the interview, when they're done asking you questions, they're going to say to you, do you have any questions for us? Now, I would highly suggest Googling that as well. What are good questions to ask in an interview? But I'm going to tell you right now, one of the things you should say is, if I were to get this job, how long does it typically take a person to become trained, in this position and fully functional? What would be your expectation of me for that? Another thing to ask is, what is the coworker interaction or the office interaction like in this job? Is it collaborative? Will I be more on my own? What's that atmosphere like. They really tend to like that one, I found. Another thing is, I'm trying to think of a different question that you could, I had so many and now I'm like, oh, you can say, has anyone else in this particular position found one part of it challenging? And if so, what would that be? Because they can come at you with an answer and you could say, oh, okay. And you can find a way to, as you get better and better at this, you know, to say, oh, okay, yeah, I can understand why that might be a challenge. And say, I think in my case, I would blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Because they're not really asking you a question, they're answering yours. But then you're just kind of selling yourself a little more. Do not ask. It's okay to ask about hours. Would the job be, if it's an 8-hour job, is it a 1-hour lunch, a half-hour lunch? So is it 8 to 5, 8 to 4:30, 7 to 3:30? You get the gist. So it's okay to ask about the hours. It's okay to ask about what their process for making a decision is in finding an employee or picking someone for this job. You know, what's your timeline? What are the next steps? That kind of thing. Another thing is always bring copies of your resume with you. I know for some people that's a no-brainer, but I didn't always know that, you know, so bring them just in case other people kind of, sometimes someone will say, oh, could I sit in on the interview? Oh yeah, sure, but I don't have a resume for you. Oh, that's fine, I'll just sit. Then you can hand them one. Also, bring your references, and whether they ask or not, give them your references. Maybe there's a head person of the department interviewing, but they have 3 other people you'd be working with in the interview as well. Just give the head person your references, but offer everyone a copy of your resume. With references, make sure they're professional only. Don't do personal references. I run into a problem because many of the companies I worked for, and it is state law that you can only answer certain questions, so you're not supposed to badmouth anybody. You can verify dates of employment. You can verify wages if they have the correct wage. So in other words, they can't say, oh, she made $17.18 an hour, $17.18 an hour, but they can verify that you made $17.18 an hour if the person doing the reference check says she stated she was making that much. They can verify and say, yes, that's what she was making. They can say, if a potential employer asks, would you or would you not hire this person again? They're not supposed to go into detail, but they can say yes or no. So it's very specific. So the professional references, I give them the phone numbers of those companies so they can verify employment, and I tell them that's all you're going to get out of them is verification of those basic things. If you want to know how I worked, here are professional references. So 2 of my references were former bosses, and then, excuse me, one of them, she was more in a supervisory position over me, but it was a department of 5, and we had one director who was over all of us, but I was the admin who supported the whole team. And so they're all professional. Don't give out Uncle Joe's, you know, well, my Uncle Joe, I worked for him on the tractor one summer. Like, don't, you know, they don't care what Uncle Joe has to say. They might enjoy talking to him, but they don't care. Let them wrap up the interview. You guys, I did a phone interview and I was so stressed out at this point. This was towards the end before I got the job I got. I I had nothing. Like nothing. And they would ask me questions and I'd be like, well, I blah, 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 whatever the answer was. And I didn't realize, I thought it was a part-time job, but it was a full-time job. And I covered it, but that doesn't sound like I knew what I was doing, because I was like, oh, even better. You know what I mean? Stupid shit. Oh my God. It's so humiliating. But then I was like, towards the end, and I can't believe I've never done this. I was like, well, is that it? Have them end the interview and let you know and say thank you. Sometimes you'll have an email address, sometimes you won't. If you have a way of emailing, not calling, no one calls on the phone anymore. We're all antisocial. Email a thank you. And if it was a whole team of people, email the head person or the recruiter or the HR person who set it up and say, would you please, I want to thank you for your work in setting this up. Would you please forward my thanks to the individuals I interviewed with as well. I appreciate their time and I'm grateful for the opportunity. Warm regards, Denise. That's what I got for you. I did get a job. It took 5.5 months and it was a bitch. And it was first interviews, very rarely a second interview. Then it was hurry up and wait. Then it was contract jobs. Then it was application application and resume, one after the other, never hearing back. Is a nightmare. And I'm so sorry if you're going through it. I'm sorry if you're older, like I am, because resumes age us. You know, they just do. And it's not fair and it's frustrating, but that is the way the world works. So you got to kind of try and work around that. So I hope these 3 little videos I did are helpful for you. Again, I'm not an expert. I mentioned in my last video, I believe, a lot of counties, at least in Minnesota, I don't know if they have them in other states, have workforce centers, and you can go and they have classes on how to write a resume. They have classes on how to interview. Like, they have so much, and they may even have resources and job postings that only come into the county. So go to them. Look that up and see if there's workforce centers. That's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching me for however long. I wish you luck in your job search. I do. I'm with you. I got your back because it sucks. Have a good day, you guys. Love you so much. I probably will go back to regular posting. I'm hoping on Saturday. This is all over the place, but that's how it's going to be for now. Have a great day. Whenever I come back, with whatever video, we'll see ya. Bye.